Do you guys get a record symbol?
Yeah, recordings.
Yeah.
It says recording.
Yeah.
Live on Facebook.
Okay.
Fantastic. Okay, so all the best, guys. I'm going to open it up right now.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yes, let's
Thank
go.
you.
Put the phones on mute.
Yeah, better.
Okay, so we see participants coming in.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
The full sign is Scotland.
Isha, let me know when we can start. Can you see my screen, guys?
Yeah, we
Yes.
can see.
Yes. Yes, we can see. I think we can start in another, say, 2 minutes.
Perfect. Excellent. So we just crossed about 118.
So what is your goal, bro? 1,000?
Let's aim for the stars. Aim for the stars. All right, I think Isha will start now,
Yeah,
and then
yes,
people
let's
will get
let's
to the
start
group.
now.
Okay, super. Good afternoon from Dubai. Good morning if you're in Europe. Good evening if you're in India. Welcome to episode 2 of the Technal Facade webinar series. Today we take on sustainable facades and circular economy. Today I'm extremely delighted to have our keynote presenters, Mika Pavelka from Friedemann and Manuel Rebela from Hydro Building Systems. With me, my co-host Isha Sharma, we will help you manage today's session and take you through what seems to be a very important topic for today's session. Before I start off into the groove of things, firstly, I would like to say a big thank you for all our frontline workers, our hospital staff, healthcare professionals, people in the police and the army who are doing a fantastic job in maintaining decorum in today's situation. A big salute goes off to all of them today. So for those of you who are probably not aware about Technal, I'll give you a very quick introduction about who Technal is. Technal belongs to Hydro, which is one of the world's largest single source aluminum company with is interest in own bauxite alumina plants. We are producing our own energy, very clean energy, using hydroelectric power. We also have primary metal roll products and extrusion systems. And under extrusion, we have the building system, and that's where Technal belongs to. So we are coming under the building systems division of Hydro. About Technal, we celebrate today our 60th year. We are present in more than 70 countries in 5 continents, and we are one of the worldwide leaders in aluminum glazing systems. We consider ourselves to be an architect's partner for the most complex, complicated challenges which they have in their facade. We are also known for our innovation and expertise in design. In terms of solutions, we have a complete building envelope solution portfolio, from sliding systems to windows to doors and facades. We're also proud that we are all having interesting solutions for fire protection, for blast and bullet protection, internal partition, balustrades, verandas, pergolas, and many, many more. And today I bring a great honor for me to bring this topic of sustainable facades and circular economy to all of you. And it's interesting that the timing of today's presentation was very critical because, and I'll tell you the reason why we chose this topic. Here you see a picture of a beautiful skyline of Beirut, which is probably known for very high levels of air pollution, but today it is showing a fantastic clean air. In China, emissions have fallen over 25% from the beginning of the year. In New York, levels of pollution have reduced by nearly 50% because of the measures to contain the virus. So on one side, we have a difficult and challenging situation, but on the other side, we are now facing probably some good positive news on the environmental front. So can we sustain this movement? How can building facades and building envelopes help in maintaining this wonderful green movement which has been started without our own knowledge? For this, we have two wonderful speakers with us today who are going to take us through a journey of sustainable facades and also jump and talk about circular economy. And before I let our speakers to join in, I would like to quickly tell that we have a Q&A chat box open. So feel free to ask your questions only in the Q&A tab. Feel free to reach to us in the chat box if you face any issues, any technical glitches, but do try to use the Q&A box only for the questions which you want to shoot out to our panelists and speakers today. So without further ado, let me introduce our first speaker, Mika Pawelka, a very dear friend, the managing director of Friedemann Group. He's based in Dubai. He's handling the role of business development for Middle East projects. Mika is in charge of sales and marketing activities, implementation of business development plans, and client relationship for Friedemann Middle East and India. He comes with over 20 years of experience in the glass and facade industry in Europe and Middle East before he joined Friedemann as a partner. Without further ado, Mika Pawelka, I hand over the digital platform to you.
Thank you very much, Arvind. Thank you, Isha, Manuel, that I can be part of the session today. Not yet working. No, okay, great. I'm sharing my screen. Here we are.
We're just going to stop our videos, otherwise.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, thanks again. Good afternoon, good morning to everybody, wherever you are on the world. Yeah, it's definitely an interesting time and an interesting topic to talk about sustainability, Arvind. Everybody is talking about this, and it has a wide range. Basically, it goes from the British architects who announced state of climate emergency to people who are using it as a pure marketing tool, the sustainability. And the look in the current positive climate change shows how much more important this topic even is, because I honestly don't share the hope that we will fly and drive and manufacture less after the situation change. Interestingly, looking into the sustainability is basically what is the base definition of sustainability. And I simply looked into Wikipedia because, you know, when you really want to understand what does it mean, it's good to look into the basic definition. So first of all, it means a process of, or a state which can be maintained for a certain level. But when it comes to climate and environment, we are basically looking back into the Brundtland Commission more than 35 years ago. And they basically, they gave the definition which says sustainable development is a development which meets the needs of the present without compromising the ability of future generations and their needs. And I think this is where we are. So we are looking into the future basically. And if we look into the future, we come by default in terms of our design and the building to a life cycle assessment, a life cycle approach of the building without any question. But looking into life cycle doesn't only mean we look into what is the maintenance of our building, maintenance cost during the life cycle. It means also what about dismantling and recycling. I'm 11 years in the Middle East. Friedemann is here for 14 years. We are a German facade consultant. Unchanged in this 11 years is the effort to educate our clients to design for life cycle and not for current construction costs. And I don't have to tell you how difficult this is in our regions. Now, looking into sustainability without any question, Hydrus Circal is definitely, without any question, a sustainable product. Looking into the life cycle cost, there is no other chance. You have to look into the life cycle cost of your building because it cannot be cheaper to use a sustainable material. Circal is not cheaper, it is more sustainable. Now, if you then look to such a sustainable material, but then you come in the Middle East to a hotel room when you do a business trip, for example, to Riyadh, and your AC is on 18 degrees Celsius in your hotel room. You're simply freezing, right? And then you basically need to get your winter clothes in your own hotel room. So on the one hand, we have sustainable, we talk about sustainability. On the other hand, we have these kind of problems which are for sure not sustainable. Or we talk about sustainability, we produce probably facades with even recycled aluminum, but then we have a very bad quality. So I'm mentioning these details to come basically back to the basics in a certain way, because this is part of the sustainability. So that's why today we are looking again into the basic of facades. We look into functions and proportional costs. We look into the roots of the facade consultancy to understand how sustainability is part of the foundation of this trade itself. And we will also look into the importance of guidance during the execution of the facade. Is facade just a cover? I'm an Apple junkie, and probably I'm not the only one who keeps this kind of boxes for many, many years. There are whole YouTube channels full of unboxing. So the box itself is not so unimportant. It is an important part. Also, we are talking here for iPhone, for example, about the cost of like just a promille of what we are spending for the iPhone. If we look into our cardboard boxes, which we are building, we are not looking into promille, we look probably into 15 to 20%. So facades are important. Facades are probably the part of the building with the most interfacing on multiple lessons. And as we said already, they carry a responsibility with our facades. There is a reason why most of the top architects don't give the facade out of their hand. They always try to design and manage this by themselves until the very last moment. That's why so important is the facade for them. Now, where is the background of the facade consultancy? It is important to look into this to really understand what is the source of our industry. If we look back into the RIBA Plan of Works 1963, building services systems were already mentioned at this time. Here we are. So building services system, facade is a part of this, as early as concept design and later in the development design. Further step, a deeper step into the topic happened basically in Germany, interestingly. The HOAE is the German, let's say, fee guideline for the German architects and engineers. And in 1996, some engineers extracted basically a facade consultancy scope out of this guideline, and they created a separate sheet, all of this. And interestingly, this is part of the original fee guideline of the facade consultancy from 1996. And I'm extracting part of this because it's really interesting what is mentioned there. It reads, Company-related or product-related consultancy and planning cannot be independent. The amount of technical solutions and details can hardly be overlooked by the architect anymore. The numbers of systems, products, and components requires a separate, special, and project customized planning. Likewise is the quality control of the execution. Due to the importance of the trade facade, the appointment of an independent facade engineer is advised. This is from 1996, and I think it cannot be more actual than today. What contains this fee guideline from their side? It basically has a fee structure. It says what you get paid in which phase. It has a clear service description for each and every phase, and it also has a fee estimation structure. Now, looking into entire scope, looking into the money, this is the entire scope of a facade from the project start to an execution, and it's basically divided into three main parts. Pre-tender consultancy, where we serve an architect from the concept to the specification. Site supervision, once it's under construction. And then we have also a part execution engineering, which we are not talking here now. Mainly it's later a small subject, but not like here. These are the three parts. Now money, usually we should not talk deeply about money, but it's interesting really to look again into the numbers because they are so small. Pre-tender consultancy, 1.5% on an average of your facade execution value. Site supervision, I'm talking here from A to Z, site visits, design reviews, approvals, less than 3% of the facade execution value. And execution engineering, we say we are not focused here right now, can be everything between 4 and 7%, depending how complicated is the project. So 1.5 and 3%, saving 1.5% for having a poor specification, for losing time in the bidding stage and in the award because you are out of budget, 1.5% saving for not getting what you want because VE exercise is killing your design. Construction phase, 3%, should you spend it or not? 3% saving by losing all opportunities, control your quality. 3% saving by losing money because of extended execution or being even indemnified by a subcontractor. 3% saving by getting a facade and probably less than half of the life cycle cost, which it could be. I'm demonstrating this to show you how small are the numbers basically. So what can be a sustainable design and execution? We are taking a great example currently soon about to start the construction in Dubai. It is the world's largest net zero energy office building. It is the new DEWA headquarters, Dubai's Electricity and Water Authority, which is being erected in Al Jadaf area. It is a building with 20,000 square meter of photovoltaic embedded in the roof, another 2,000 square meter in the facade. Entirely off-grid building with 70,000 square meter office space. This is for sure a challenge to design a facade for this. We talked with the German architect Obermeier and with the DEWA team, very, very much care about all the details. One of the biggest challenges you can imagine, introducing this, the louver outside, the penetration of the bracket into the facade and how to limit the movements to ensure the quality. All the thermal assessments and testings were done in an intensive study by the German team of Obermeier and Priedemann. And the final solution is basically a thermal broken unitized curtain wall with a triple glass unit. So what is interesting here, if we look into all the details we went through months and years, technology is available. There is no question. We were able to source thermal broken aluminum systems, which even can be manufactured locally. All the products are available. This is not a rocket science. What is the question mark? What is the uncertainty if you look into the design? It is basically the project execution. We are talking here about air infiltration risk, which need to be limited because of such a high quality facade required for a net zero energy building. And as you know it, usually these things are getting neglected in the market. You know the McLeamy curve. If you neglect it and you find a problem in the execution, it means your costs are rapidly rising by solving this kind of problem. So as earlier as you can manage your building properly, as less money you will spend on this. So we were talking with all the stakeholders intensively, with the system suppliers, and the result was basically that we introduced even by name in the specification pre-qualified fabricators. This was the wish of the client. One second. Yeah, and what we basically introduced as a solution is an on-site pressure testing to ensure that the air infiltration of the facade is as per the specified value. It will not be happening that the entire building will be installed, and once the facade is installed, we're going to do a blower door test. This is not the idea. The idea is intermediate testings after intermediate partial installation of the facade to ensure that you can rectify at an early time to ensure the continuation of a good quality. So every 2 to 3 floors, the facade installation will be tested. There are portable devices available. And if you look into this, the result, the summary is basically just abide to the basics. We don't have a rocket science. Of course, we have an unusual facade with a triple glass and entirely broken thermal system, include thermal broken pressure plates. But the crucial issue here is the facade execution quality. So abide to the basics, follow good practice in facade execution. And this means the first step of sustainability is practicing basics. How to guide, also with this project for sure, this will be a challenge, how to guide. And I want to step a little bit deeper in how we are doing this as a company basically. And now the execution engineering is getting interested as per our opinion. So we have the 3 parts, what we said, pre-tender, supervision, and execution engineering. We believe to guide properly into the execution, you need to be able to understand the requirements, the motivation of all the stakeholders in the entire cycle of your project. From the owners to the architect, main contractors, fabricators, and even the industry, who is more the one who provides the product. So building life cycle, you need to understand from A to Z the entire team to be involved. And we believe that we were able to merge this kind of consultancy engineering DNA in our company. That's why we say consultancy engineering is facade expertise. And this you will find in our brand name. We are facade experts. Priedemann was founded, interestingly, when I said 1996, the facade consultancy business evolved in Germany. We were founded 1993, shortly after the Berlin Wall came down. First projects in Potsdamer Platz, there were a lot of work, of course. That's why facade consultancy is so deep embedded into our DNA. This is the team with the headquarters in Germany. This is the global footprint at the moment. We are 150 experts, more than 150 experts. We're 26 years in Germany. And more interesting than a turnover is probably we are managing $650 million of facade execution costs annually. And for you, as mainly our clients here from Middle East and India, the biggest part of the group is basically handling the operation in Middle East and India with more than half of the team. So your advantage is there is one resource, and it doesn't matter what you need. If you need a concept, if you need a design assist, if you need a responsible design for execution engineering, include shop drawing and structural design, everything is from one source with one professional indemnity insurance. And this even goes until to the end that you are getting your machine files to manufacture your facades. Part of our DNA is the Facade Lab adjacent to our headquarters. The Facade Lab is our research and development kitchen, is a giant showroom. It is a forum for lectures like what we have now online. It is a think text for samplings and everything. And one of the recent development out of the Facade Lab together with our partners is basically a very sustainable and interesting product. Using standard components of a facade, unitized curtain wall, a blind which you usually anyway have inside. And here, interestingly, once the glare control is required, the blind goes down and the cavity between the blind and the glass is getting exhausted into the HVAC system. Even the blind itself is semi-translucent, so you can still look outside. Once you need more glare control, the blind goes down fully, and the entire cavity is basically used as the second skin, if you require it. If you look from outside, also the interesting thing is your facade remains uniform. It's an automatic system. And what is interesting, I'll show you another slide later, the space saving is interesting because you don't have a real double skin facade where you lose probably rentable carpet space. We call this facade ACT facade. It's active cavity transition because the double skin basically is created by the blind. Intensively tested, proven savings of 25% for cooling loads in Germany. And here you see again the principle.
Sorry to pitch in, Mika,
Yes.
maybe you would want to unoptimize it for the screen. It's a little blurred.
Is it better? But I need to exit, right? And then
Yes,
get in again.
Yes, yes.
Okay. I will do this. You want me to show the video again, or was it okay?
After the video,
Okay.
when this thermal imaging was blurred.
Okay, okay.
From the ACT facade one, the
Okay.
slide previous to it.
Okay. Go back. Here, yeah?
Yes.
Okay. Good. ACT. Okay, so we call it ACT facade, active cavity transition. It was intensively tested, proven cooling load saving of 25% for a project in Germany. It can be even more in the Middle East. And here you see again the principle. So in this case in Germany, it's a triple glass unit, but it doesn't need to be. An existing, a standard facade, the blind, and then you exhaust the air whenever you require it, and you cover insulation and glare control at the same time. Interesting, what we showed in the video quickly, see the difference from a double skin facade to the ACT facade. You have full carpet space until the surface of the inner surface of the glass. That's the interesting thing here. And it was installed fully unitized system. And the result is an incredible transparent building, which is very challenging nowadays in Germany because of the energy saving regulations. So transparent from outside and even incredible transparent from inside. This is the result. Now, this is the normal facade system here, where you have basically almost a normal mullion where the blind is running in a zipper profile. And the next step of this development is something we basically introduced for a project in the US. So while this is combined in one mullion, it can also be developed as a separate add-on system. And we introduced this solution for a 75-year-old building in New York, which should get a refurbishment with a very, very commercial solution. And the idea is that we are doing the ACT facade with an add-on profile of this blind, getting connected to the HVAC system, which also gets refurbished. And the result of this submittal is basically that we were in the top 5 of the design competition of the Metal magazine. We are very proud of it. We are not the top 1, so the project will probably not go into this building, but hopefully into another in the future. But it shows that it's getting recognized and the solution is possible. So what we learn basically sustainability doesn't need to be very complicated, okay? You anyway have a blind in your building connected as a second skin. Sustainability doesn't need to be expensive by default. It can be a pretty commercial solution. Now, last but not least, Arvind, I'm coming back to your introduction to the whole webinar, and I want to say, like Steve Jobs, one more thing I would like to introduce. In your introduction for this webinar, you mentioned that basically facades is like a layer, an enclosure, but in the future, the building skin can also minimize the environmental impact of the whole urban areas by being active and passive in terms of product or measurement. And I would like to quickly introduce this product because this is now going into the first buildings. It is basically, you see, these are the blue Venetian blinds you see on the left side. We call it Arcol. It's basically solar thermal Venetian blind. I have a small video, we'll give some explanation of it. So classical blind will not help you to with the daylight. Most of the videos unfortunately in German, so I will explain a little bit. It's Venetian blind system, but the entire slat is basically with a heat pipe, and it is connected with a dry heat to the inner system, and you can use it fully as a solar thermal solution, connect directly to your building system. I think that's really a great solution where you have passive because it's basically a shading, but it's also active because you generate basically really power by this. So here you see the heat pipe on the back side, and in the hidden part of the facade there is a special connection to a header pipe, and there is a magnetic connection done that the heat pipe is distributing the heat to the header pipe, and this is connecting to the building system. I think that's a very innovative and really sustainable solution, and we cannot wait until we see this in the first projects. That's it. Arvind, I hand over back to you.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for your wonderful insight and kickstart into the sustainability presentation. While you were presenting, I took the liberty to do a quick poll. I had a question to describe the profession of the people in the audience today. We have 30% architects, 14% facade consultant, 23% facade contractor, metal builder, 6% are main civil contractor, 7% developers, 7% student, and we have the others from representing about 13%. So that gives you a good idea of the audience who you just spoke to now. And also I had thrown them a question when you were talking about life cycle costs, and over 50% of them don't have experience yet on evaluating project life cycle costs, and 35% are partially aware. So I think that's a great opportunity for them to get in touch with you to know more about how facade can influence positively to the life cycle costs, and could be a good start point for discussion on future projects.
Great. Yeah, there is big potential, huh? If only 50% have experience.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. Thank you again, Mika, for your wonderful insight. Can I request Isha maybe to take one question now for Mika, and then we can take more questions later after Manuel's presentation.
All right. Thank you so much, Mika. It was great, very informative. So we have actually a lot of questions for you, and choosing just one is, okay, just directly related to your presentation. Mr. Ali Sakpan is asking, for the ACT facades, how easy is it to maintain the blinds in case the mechanism breaks down? Do you have to remove the entire mullion portions and put them back?
No, you don't have. No. There is a zipper profile on the both sides of the blind, and you can simply move it out of the slide of the frame in the mullion, and you can exchange it like a normal blind. There is nothing more complicated. Of course, the blind itself is a little bit more expensive because it needs the zipper profile on both sides, that it is not vibrating when the air is exhaust, okay? Because it creates an under pressure, of course, so it needs to be in the zipper profile, but replacement is not a problem. It's a special blind, but it's not a rocket science.
Okay, cool. Thank you, Mika. Another, I would like to take just one more question on the same lines. Mr. ID Diana, Miss ID Diana, I hope, is asking what's the difference between a closed cavity facade and an active cavity facade? Beside active facade is using curtain. Any pros and cons considering basic facade zone, beside facade zones?
No, the closed cavity facade is basically a double skin facade where you have two fixed skins. Okay, so usually both is glass in most of the cases. Sometimes not. It can even be a blind, like a spandrel panel. But the entire enclosure is hermetically sealed. So closed cavity means you don't open it. There is usually no air connection. There is a little bit, okay, to let's say to have the air distribution, but it's not an active ventilated facade. It's hermetically sealed. You can have blinds inside, you can even have curtains inside or other decorative stuff. That's possible, okay? But it's basically hermetically sealed. That's a different opinion. So a closed cavity facade is thicker than what we are talking, and it's always a closed cavity facade, okay? What we are talking here is about a normal, let's say, unitized curtain wall with a mullion and a transom. No blinds if you don't need it, but the blind is coming down if it's required in terms of glare control. This is the difference.
All right. Thank you. Thanks a lot, Mika. Hope the answers were sufficient for the questioners. We'll take more questions after the second presentation towards the end of the session.
Yeah, and I will also look a little bit into Q&A, what I can answer. But I see some questions coming into the chat. I think we should emphasize again that questions should be raised in the Q&A. Yeah, because chat, I think we cannot manage anymore later.
Absolutely. So please, if you have any question regarding the presentation or the subject, please mention the questions in the Q&A tab, which is at the bottom just beside the chat tab. So on the chat, it's only hellos, and if you're facing any technical difficulty, like sound is not clear or the video is not clear. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Isha. Thank you, Mika. Now I'm super thrilled, excited to introduce our second speaker. Manuel Rebela is the product manager at Hydro Building Systems Asia. He's in charge of product portfolio and development of new products for the Asian market. He's also in charge of deploying Hydro's sustainability agenda across company units in Asia. Based out of Spain, France, India, and lately in the UAE, he has exposure to both European and Asian market. He holds a degree in product design engineering from the Jaume I University in Spain and a master's degree in business administration from EUD Madrid, Spain. Without further ado, please help me welcome digitally Manuel Rebela. Manuel, the stage is yours.
Good luck, Manuel.
Thank you. So I'm gonna start sharing my screen. So yeah, first of all, thank you, Arvin, and thank you, Esha, for hosting me today. It's a pleasure to be here talking about sustainability. Thank you, everybody, for attending. And well, I'm gonna try to show you how Hydro and Technal can help you become part of this change, of this movement that we think so necessary at this time. So I'm gonna stop the video because I don't want everybody to be distracted with that. I'm gonna go ahead with my presentation. Let me just go there. Yeah, because for Hydro, for Technal, sustainability is not just a fancy word that we like to use lightly and we use it just for marketing, you know, because everybody's talking about it. For Hydro, sustainability is one of the pillars of the strategy. It's basically our license to operate in the market. I mean, if we don't consider the societies, we don't consider the future generations, we just don't work in that area. And this is, as Arvin said before, we are celebrating 60 years of the brand Technal, and what we want to do is to celebrate as many more in the future. And for that, we need to have a responsible and sustainable business. So in a world where we are clearly depleting the natural resources, we are consuming more resources that Earth can produce, and we are assisting, even if there is voice denying it, we are assisting clearly to a climate change. We have a growing population which will reach 8.6 billion by 2030, and the statistics show that it will be more and more concentrated in rural areas. We think that we have a mission with the society, which is to help build these cities of the future in a more responsible way for the generations to come, and for the planet Earth and the civilization as we know it. So in Technal and Hydro, we embrace the philosophy of eco-design when we are designing our products and when we are developing them, because we from the beginning we consider the whole life cycle of the products, and we have circular economy at the top of our requirements. It's like the same at the same level that performance, aesthetics, and all that. Circular economy is one of our, let's say, targets whenever we are designing a new product. And we have a strict code of conduct for selection of vendors. Whenever we have to choose the vendor, we always check what is the how is the behavior of this vendor towards the society, and how is he purchasing the materials that he's using. And then when we design the products, we think about the life stage or the usage stage of these of the life cycle, and we think how these products are going to be saving resources, and they're going to be reducing the emissions into the atmosphere, into the environment. And really important is the part of recyclability of the materials and the use of recycled materials if it's possible. So here let's throw a poll now, Arvind, about the carbon footprint of the construction of buildings. Say if we take any construction of an office building, what would be the carbon footprint of per square meter horizontal surface? I'm talking about, okay, you can say it doesn't matter the number of stories that the building has, is the horizontal surface, and it is the material, the construction material only. Okay, so we will come back to later to this question. Just let the audience answer and choose the option that they think is the correct one. Let's go ahead with it.
Yeah, the poll is on. The poll is live.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, because talking about recycled materials, as Mika introduced before in his presentation, with Hydro and Technal, we are proud to have this fantastic new aluminum available that we can introduce in any of our Technal products, doors, facades, windows, which is Circal. And what is this Circal, you may ask? Well, this Circal is the first aluminum billet that contains at least 75% of post-consumer content, which is it's aluminum which has been recycled, means when the product was at the end of its life cycle. And the interesting figure of this Circal is the emissions that it produces when the billet is produced, which is around 2 kilos of maximum 2.3 kilos. In fact, it's actually it's around 2 kilos of CO2 equivalent per kilo of aluminium. And well, this compared to the standard primary metal billet produced in Europe by Hydro, which is 5.7, so you can see it's less than half of it. But if you compare it with the global average of the production of primary metal, or primary aluminium, well, you can see that in the graph, which is the difference is quite impressive. So we're quite proud to have that material available in our ranges of facade, windows, and doors. And if those numbers sound a little bit strange for you, I'm going to put that in a context, which is this one here. So according to the US Environmental Protection Agency, a typical passenger vehicle emits about 4.6 metric tons of carbon dioxide per year. Now, let's say I have a facade, which is 10,000 square meters, and that's around 100 tons of aluminum. Well, if I choose to go for standard aluminum with the global average emissions that it has, it will be equivalent to have 363 cars on the streets in a year. Whereas if I decide to go with Circal, it will be the equivalent of having 50 cars on the streets per year. So by choosing Circal, it's like if you were removing 313 cars from the streets for a year. So, well, maybe the next time you are in a traffic jam, you may think of this. I'm going to insist a little bit about the difference between pre-consumer scrap and post-consumer scrap, or pre-consumer content of the aluminum and post-consumer recycled content. Well, the pre-consumer scrap is basically the waste. I don't like to call it waste because it's not a wasted material. It's something that can be reused, but is what cannot be used, or it's just the scrap from the process, the industrial process, before the product has become a real product. It has been sold. It has gone to the final users, and let's say it has never left the factory. Okay, which in case of aluminum is the scrap of the extrusion or the process of production of the billets and all that it's remelted, and then it is say used again in the production of the billet. Whereas post-consumer scrap is the materials who have ended their life cycle, and they have been recovered, and then they have been treated and sorted, and all with a process, they have become again a new product and recycled into new products. And the difference is that the post-consumer scrap, the post-consumer content of the objects, especially with aluminum, they have a very what they call the decarbonization effect, which means that apart from the energy that you don't need to consume if you compare to primary, there is also the factor that by recycling you are not you're not producing again the same CO2 that you would need to remelt or to create the billet and all the cathodes and all the process that you need to create new billets. Because if you see this graph here, which indeed is an internal calculation and it can be debated, but the thing is that the more content of pre-consumer recycle you have in a billet, the more you can get, or the more emissions you can be producing, in fact. So the effect can be the opposite that you want to have, which is having less emissions. It's true that you will be reusing the material, yes, and that's a good thing, but it doesn't have the decarbonization effect that you would have if you use post-consumer scrap. And this recycling of post-consumer scrap, it's Hydro does it with a very unique technique that we have in one of our recycling plants in Germany. This is in Dormagen in Germany, and there what they have perfected is a process to sort the aluminum, and they it goes through a lot of machines to shred it, to break it, and then it goes to this scanning or kind of X-ray that it has, and then with that they are able to really sort the different kinds of aluminiums and materials. They just discard the ones that are not good, and in the end what you have is these pellets that you can see on the right side that will go to the smelter, and they will become alloys which are perfectly compliant with the standards. And I will not get into the detail of this, but I recommend that you go into on YouTube, and you can check this recycling or circle process on YouTube. There's a fantastic video there. It's quite a thing to see, and I recommend everybody to go and check it out. And here I will show you some projects that have been they have already been done with Circal. Here is an example in the Middle East. This was the first one, in fact, and it's the Kuwait Gulf Oil Company headquarters. And with this project, we helped with Circal. We helped to let's say avoid 756 tons of CO2 in the atmosphere. This other one, the Orken Portal, a fantastic project in Oslo, Norway, 1,732 tons of CO2 less in the atmosphere. And we have many more, and we have like more than 50 projects in the pipeline at different stages. That some of them we cannot share the details because it's quite confidential, but some of them are progressing. Here you have more examples. All them done with Circal, and with that, these guys are helping to reduce the emissions of CO2 into the atmosphere. So now this is the answer for the question that I threw before. So the right answer was answer C. So the carbon footprint per square meter of the construction of an office building is between 600 and 1,200 kilos of CO2 per square meter.
Our audience were very, very correct. 41% of them have answered that 600 to 1,200 kg of CO2. So we have a very, very green audience today.
Yeah,
and a smart audience.
Absolutely.
Good knowledge.
Yeah. Just a little comment here that I added in the last minute. In fact, just for your information, it is estimated that 15% of these emissions there come from the fenestration of facade, say the envelope of the building. But that is difficult to quantify because it depends a lot on which is the kind of envelope that you're using it. Now, this when we're talking about this, and as I said before, we just don't talk about sustainability like we just say, yeah, we're doing things right, and this is we want to have that verified by people who know of these matters, and we want to be objective when we say anything. And to do that, you need to be assessed, and you need to get product life cycles assessments, and we have done that with third parties, and we've got the verifications, and we got EPDs, environmental product declarations, which are available for everyone. They are what it's called the Type 3 for those who are familiar with the LEED certificate and all that. They will know what is Type C is. Basically, when the EPDs are conformed to the ISO 14025 and 2193 in case of the building industry, and the Type 3 EPDs they are available for Circal, and they are also available for many of our Technal catalog solutions. And we can provide with Type 3 EPDs on demand for solutions specified in projects. But of course, I mean, the farther away from the catalog solution, the longer it will take to get these EPDs. But anyway, that it's possible. We can do it, and well, we just need to have projects to specify with Technal products. And this is another green certificate, green product certificate that we are say working with. It's the cradle to cradle certificate. I will not explain in detail what this philosophy or this philosophy design is. I invite you to check on the net, because there is a lot of bibliography about it, and you can even go to the official website of the Cradle to Cradle. And the only thing that I will say that this is a voluntary label that aims to certify how products fit in the circular economy. And well, the products are basically assessed according to these 5 attributes that you have here on the squares there. So basically, there are two attributes which are related to the materials of the product, and then there are other 3 that are related to the process of production of this of the product, the energy that you use, the impact on water, and the social fairness. And then the assessment of those according to those attributes gives you a classification of your product, which can go from basic to platinum. And well, in Technal, we have got already some certifications. So we have our Windows, our full range of Windows Soleal, which is Soleal FY, which are certified cradle to cradle bronze, and also the doors. The PY doors, they are also certified bronze, and we have also our bifolding door, which is bronze as well, so cradle to cradle bronze. And the idea is that in the coming months we're gonna have a new generation of products that are going to be already certified, because we have decided to go in full with these certifications. Any new product that we will be launching will be certified cradle to cradle. Our target is not to stay in bronze. This was the first approach that we had. We are going for at least silver and above, and this is the idea is to have all our ranges classified cradle to cradle to more, let's say, to a lower or a higher level. And now I will talk a little bit about the green building certificates, which is, it's not as a system supplier, a system house. We are not much an expert of this area, which is the building rating schemes. And but what we see in the market, and because we have demands, can you help me with this certificate? Can you help me with that certificate? We can, of course, but what we see is that there is an increasing number of certificates in the world, and well, this shows that the industry is concerned about sustainability. And in this table, you can see how the documents that I told you about before can help to obtain more credits or more points or a better qualification with those green building rating schemes. Here there are some examples of the most common of them, like LEED, WELL, HQA, and you can see how whether they accept or not EPDs, the end of life modeling, the recycled content, and the cradle to cradle certificates. And you can see that for many of them, the C2C certificates, or for the most important ones, the C2C certificates are quite important. That made us think that we are doing the right choice by going for this cradle to cradle certificate. Well, obviously the EPDs are the basic tools, and this is what we can provide, say, easy way, that we have already available a lot of EPDs, and also the recycled content, which is in the case of lead, for instance, it is mentioned that the content of post-consumer scrap, its value doubled than the pre-consumer scrap. So yeah, this is how we can help you obtain these certificates, the green building certificate. And well, this is from the this is only for the facade and the fenestration of your building. And of course, you need to find how to complete the rest of the materials. But at least you will have already this from our side. Don't hesitate to ask. We will provide all these documents. Now, as I said at the beginning of the presentation, the population is going to tend to concentrate in urban areas. And as you can see here, it is said that the emissions of building operation, it means lighting, air conditioning, heating the building, those account for 28% of the emissions of CO2 in the atmosphere. So you can imagine that in those areas where the population will be more concentrated, there are chances that also the pollution will be more concentrated, and we will assist to respiratory illness, to deaths, in fact. And so we think that we have a responsibility to have buildings that are more energy efficient. And if before I have talked about what Technal and Hydro can offer you with its products at the early stage of the life cycle. Now I'm going to talk a little bit about what we can offer you at the usage stage of the to save energy, I would say, to make your building more efficient at the usage stage of the building. In Technal, we design our products to make them really efficient in terms of thermal transmittance. We have a state-of-the-art thermal break solutions, and we also try to maximize the light that our products allow or they let in the building, to avoid artificial lighting as much as possible without compromising the structural resistance of the product. And then this. Our project services around the world have also worked in the double skin facades, that the kind of thing that Mika was talking about. We have done several projects, very different, very variant. This is completely bespoke solution every time. We have done several all around the world. Here you have several examples, one in Spain, two in France, but we have done with Hydro, we've done a lot in Germany and in other places as well. And then this you see here, those are some breakers that are fully customized each time. They are adapted to the design of the building, and our project services across the world are able to do these kind of things in collaboration with the facade consultants, with the architects, to give an amazing aesthetics to the buildings, and at the same time improve the thermal efficiency to help with these sun breakers. You know that you help a lot with the solar factor, which is so nasty to keep the temperature of a floor in a building at the same, in all the space in the same floor at the right temperature. So with these some breakers is something that can help you save a lot of energy and a lot of fights in the office as well when they say it is too cold here and it is too hot there. But in Technal and Hydro, we think that it's a pity not to take advantage of the properties of the nature and natural ventilation. And it's a pity that we have our buildings completely closed for 24 hours. For example, here in the Middle East, we have enjoyed like 6 months of perfect weather, and then when we see all those buildings permanently closed and with air conditioning turning full time, and there is no natural ventilation on it, we think it's a pity that those buildings cannot save energy in cooling by using the natural ventilation, for instance, during the night or even during the day in the nicest days here, at least in this region. And for that, we have some solutions, because obviously the windows are the most common solution. You just open the window and then you get natural ventilation. That's right. Yeah, but you may not want to have all the dust and all the pollution coming in, and we're going to try to reduce the pollution with the products and our green buildings in the future. But still, we will have insects, we will have dust, and we will have all the things or all the visitors that you don't want to have. And for that, we have this kind of solution, which is this ventilation flap, which can be integrated in a facade, for instance, in our Geode MX and MX Animal. So this is the stick and the unitized facade. And well, they come with or without air filters. So you can have direct air coming in, or you can have filtered air that it filters the pollution and the dust, and it allows a natural circulation of air in the space. And we have also some features in other products that allow what we call the microventilation. So it's a lock position, which I mean, while it's being closed, the product allows the flux of air going inside the space, and this is incorporated in the product. It's not an external device that you have to add. It's just a positioning in the handle, as you can see there, that gives you a micro ventilation position. And for those who don't have to deal with thermal break because they enjoy a temperate climate all the year long, we have this solution, which is the louver solution, safety line, GLC it's called, and you have two options. One is with glass louvers, and another one is with aluminum louvers. And for the ones that we have to scratch our head with the thermal performances, that why not could be combined in a double skin facade, and you can find a way to make your facade really efficient in terms of ventilation and thermal transmission by using this kind of solutions, because they exist in manual operation and in motorized operation. So it can be, let's say you have a second skin with aluminum louvers there. It's possible to motorize them and to allow to control the entrance of light into your building, and also to allow ventilation if you put it in the inner side of the facade. But in Technal, we have also a spirit of innovation, and we don't want to stop at the passive way of say saving energy, which was the examples that I showed before. We also search for new products that will be able to produce energy at in a more efficient way, and they will be consuming less resources. Like this is an example of the window Climal that was presented was launched in the last bâtiment in Paris. And this is a window that, thanks to the principle of thermoelectricity, it produces both cool air and hot air. So you can reverse that, and then you can have a heating system integrated in your window, and you can see that the system is fully integrated in the window. And you can have also a cooling system. Obviously, it will not be as powerful as an AC, but the consumption of energy is much lower than an AC system. And last but not least, we think about facades that can produce energy. And well, we know that by using photovoltaic panels, we will be producing energy, and Mika has a very good example of how that can be done. But at the last bâtiment in Paris, we presented a solution which was this thing that you can see here. It's a facade which has a skin, which is formed by aluminum plates in the shape of scales, like, you know, a skinfish. And they vibrate with the, or they move with the air, and with the air in the around them. And by the principle of piezoelectricity, they produce energy that can be used in the building for anything, for lighting or for whatever you want to use it. And especially, and in this case, we presented this solution with these scales produced in Facade. So you can imagine that the carbon efficiency of this facade has a very big potential. And that was all from my side, and I will give the word back to Asia and Arvin. Thank you very much, everyone, and just stay tuned for the next generation of Technal products. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Asia. Thank you, Arvin.
Thank you, Manuel. Very informative. Thanks a lot. So, Arvin, you would like to say something before we take a couple of more questions?
So thank you, Manuel, for your wonderful presentation. Isha, for the benefit of time, we have 6 to 7 minutes. So it would be great to take on 3 or 4 questions tops, and we can address them right away.
Okay, so Mika has been kind enough to answer some questions while the presentation was on. And I hope the people who have inquired are satisfied with the questions. However, I would like to take one question which he has already answered again for the live answering session, because it will be more clear once it's open and out. So the Ms. Sakshi has asked, since aluminium is not a sustainable material, what alternative do you suggest? So I would like both of them or either of them to take this question and clarify a little bit more on how aluminium is actually a sustainable material, although Manuel has mentioned quite a bit in his presentation, but a little more elaboration on this will really help all our listeners. Thank you.
What can I'll take it. I'll take this one.
Okay.
Of course you'll take it. Somebody's questioning the sustainability of your business model.
Yeah, the thing is that, well, if aluminium is not sustainable, then what is sustainable as material? And I would say aluminium is recyclable. It's infinitively recyclable because of its atomical structure. It's something that, I mean, aluminium can be melted as many times as you want, and it will get back to, when it's solidified again, it will be back to the same properties, original properties. So I would say, I don't know why this gentleman or lady, I don't know exactly who is it.
The lady Sakshi Chawla.
Yeah, so I would like to have an exchange with her, because I don't know why she thinks that it is not sustainable compared to any other material is as sustainable as say any other metal, I would say. Well, I mean, compared to, if you take the plastics, for instance, which are not infinitely recyclable because of the molecular structure that they have, it's not, I mean, I don't know. I mean, it's quite difficult to say that it's not a sustainable material, especially when you think that it is estimated that at least 75% of the aluminium which has been used in the history of humanity, it's still in use. This is an estimation that it's been done. And you know, it's like in Europe, 95% of the aluminium which is used, and it's at the end of life, it's recovered and recycled. So yeah, I mean, I don't know. Aluminium fits perfectly in the circular economy philosophy, and I just cannot understand why we could say that it is not a sustainable material. What would be the sustainable material then?
Manuel, I think there must be a background of this, okay? And
yeah, there must be. So
I contested this. I said I'm not agreeing in your statement. I said this, okay? Of course, there is wood, for example, okay? Wood for sure is timber sustainable, but it's more that there must be a background, okay? You know this, that we have in India the requirement of having virgin aluminum because there is scrap in the aluminum. For sure, this is not sustainable. So this is depending on the level. So probably there is a certain education required to understand why your aluminum is sustainable. And then we can talk about timber for sure, but plastic is even a bigger, PVC is even a bigger problem, right? It can also be in a certain way sustainable, but never like aluminum.
Yeah, I mean, in the amounts of energy, in other metals, the amounts of energy that you need to melt them and all. So it's you know. So yeah, for this person, what I would like to, I would thank this person if she or he wants to send an email, and or we want to have we can have a chat, and I would like to understand why she or he has this vision of aluminum not being a sustainable material.
All right. So I guess, Sakshi, this will answer some of your queries. And if furthermore you have any doubts about it, you can send across an email, call us, or however you want to take it forward. Continuing on this similar line, we have another question from Mr. Pradeep Bhargav. He's asking, facades having multiple skins plus automation on top of it, how sustainable does it remain? Is it recommended? The multiple skins facade plus the automation and everything. So when we are talking about sustainability, all this machining going into it, is it sustainable or not?
Yeah, you know, I mean, the sustainability of something like this always, this is again, we come to the life cycle, okay? If you have a single skin facade, you have a certain U value. If you have a double skin, your U value is better. If you have an active shading device inside, the U value is better, but you generate power and you have an active shading. So as more money you spend on, let's say, technology and customized solution, as more expensive it gets, but as better is your facade. And the sustainability matter need to be looked on a life cycle. There is no question. If I know in India it's a challenge, because if you look at the cost we are spending on facade, it's extremely low. This cannot be sustainable for no way. If you look into other countries, what is the development? The development can only happen in a sustainable direction if the laws are getting introduced, okay? This is usually the direction. People will only spend money on something if they are forced in a certain way. But double skin, more expensive than single skin, but it's also better. Now, in the sustainability matter, it is getting wider. We have to go deeper into the matter because we have something which is called basically the embedded carbon footprint. So for example, a triple glass unit is better from the performance, but the carbon footprint of the manufacturing of a triple glass unit can be worse than using it. So it's a little bit complicated, and we are at the beginning of this development, okay? So sustainability is such a wide, such a wide topic that it's need to be looked comprehensively.
Okay. All right, thank you. I think this was interesting, very new for me especially, I'm sure for others as well. And there are actually a lot of questions. So what we can do probably is we can, jot them down and send them to you individually. and you can answer those questions, and we will send them back to our askers.
Sure.
Yeah, possible. Or you leave it open, and I spend another 15 minutes on other, whatever you prefer, Isha.
Okay, that's also all right. If you want to answer them one by one, that's also all right.
Absolutely fine. Absolutely fine. Yes.
Okay.
Once again, Isha, thank you so much for hosting the Q&A session. A big thanks to Mika and Manuel for their valuable inputs today. We started today to talk about the life cycle costs. We kind of delved into the importance or the potential, the huge potential which is available on the active facade technology. We then had Manuel who roped in his information about the hydrocercal, the potential of having low carbon facades, true reality now with all these wonderful projects which he had shown us, and the benefit which we will get in terms of carbon emission savings. We then moved on and talked about active and passive strategies which Technal can offer today when it comes to smarter facade design, window and sliders and so on and so forth. So that was very interesting to hear you gentlemen speak about this good topics and absolutely need of the hour. So thank you once again for joining us in this presentation. I would like to now let the audience and participants know this webinar is supported by the American Institute of Architects of the Middle East chapter. A big thank you to them for their support for this webinar. We now have a couple of more webinars planned in the coming weeks. We will talk next on a facade perspective on building fire and life safety. This is our next planned webinar, followed by complex facade geometries and architectural flexibility. So these are two interesting topics which we have in store. We also will have a special webinar dedicated to acoustics with all the noise which you're going to soon get with all the cars back on the road. I think it's a very interesting topic to also know about. With that said, we leave our contact details in front of you on your screen, myself, Arvind and Isha. If you would have any questions or clarifications, if you want us to organize a private session for your team, we're more than happy to do that. Please feel free to scan our details, which is flashing on your screen. Once this webinar is over, we would be sending you, and on your screen, in fact, you will get a link to our survey. Please feel free and take some time to give us your feedback. It is absolutely critical for us to give you more and more content as we make use of this lockdown period in various parts of the world. Once again, a big thank you. Mika, last few words from you.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you to you and the Technal team. Thank you, Isha. Thank you, Arvind. Thank you, Manuel, to be part of this. It was interesting experience because you don't see your audience. Okay, that's why I like to answer questions, because I can see interest. There's a certain interaction. So I think it's a good opportunity. And yeah, thank you for being part of this. And I hope we could add some values to yours and our client team.
Thank you, Mika. Manuel, few parting words from your side.
Nothing to add from my side. Thank you both, and thank you to the audience. Thank you very much for listening to attending this webinar. Thank you, Mika, for the great presentation and very illustrative presentation about those interesting products. And well, we'll hope we'll have many more webinars and many more occasions to talk with this this fabulous audience that we have had today. Thank you, everybody. That's it.
Thank you. Stay safe, everybody.
Yeah, stay safe, everybody.
Thanks, Manuel. Thanks, Mika. Arvind, let's just keep this open for another 10-15 minutes so that Mika and Manuel can answer some questions.
Perfect. Brilliant. We'll do that. Thank you once again. Thank you,
all right.
everybody.
Thank you, everyone. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Stay safe, stay healthy. Take care.
Bye.